For Indi.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. And can I support the comments for the member for Grey and the attention he gave to the extra costs of providing services in rural areas? And I too would like to address that as part of my speech. So I welcome the government's establishment of the Royal Commission into Aged Care Quality and Safety. It's timely and an important inquiry. In my electorate of Indi, every year I undertake a community survey. And the 2018 Indi budget survey, 79.4% of respondents said that the issue of aged care and health was very important to them. And the screening of the ABC Four Corners program highlighted totally unacceptable treatment of many people living in, or some people living in, residential aged care facilities and created great conversation in my electorate of Indi. This ABC program showed that there's a difference between our expectation of our want for people in our community to be cared and what is actually happening in some areas. And I'm looking forward to the terms of reference and that the commissioners have now been announced. So I'll be really looking forward to encouraging my community to make submissions to that Royal Commission. However, I don't think we need to wait until it's all done before we start active work on this. There's really important work that needs to be done around aged care workforce planning. Approximately 11.3% of Australians aged 70 and over live in outer regional, remote and very remote areas. And residential aged care facilities in our remote and outer regional areas are generally, exactly as the member for Grey has said, small in size. And these facilities lack the economies of scale and the scope that are often the case in urban areas. And aged care cost per person in these settings is much more expensive. And so it's this whole sense of how do we design innovative, creative and effective solutions for our people who live in small country towns and more remote areas. So today I want to talk about some of the issues that we know exist. We know that cost is a factor. It's not only the cost of providing services, it's the cost of getting people and staff to and from services. So, for example, in Corryong, if you're going to bring up a specialist from Albury-Wodonga, it's the time and the cost of the travel to the 2-hour trip both ways to get there. So that's expensive. But it's also that in Corryong, a small country town, we don't have access to the specialist services that we need, and they have to travel, which is important that they do. But I'd also like to say one of the wonderful things about the Corryong community is that it has got such creativity and such innovation in addressing its own problems. And it, together with Alpine Health, have done standout work under a previous a model called multi-purpose service, provision of services. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. But the answers in many instances do lie within the communities, and we need the government then to be an active partner in putting in the resources and the money needed to provide these services. What's been happening in communities like Corryong, which has tried so hard as a community to address its own needs, is government sort of gives it a slap on the face by cutting the services, cutting the extra funding we need for allied health to bring specialist allied health people into the community and do the work. So I think there's a lot of things that we know what needs to be done now. The knowledge is held, and we don't really need to wait to the end of the Royal Commission to support all this. In my own community of Indi, there's a fantastic organisation where there's the scoping and training needs in rural and aged care, and they've set up a network from Wodonga, Beechworth, Corryong, Toolangatta, Alpine, which is Mansfield, Mount Beauty and Bright. The network, supported by La Trobe University, to do a lot of this work together, and has got so much knowledge. At another time, the minister responsible, the member for Hasluck, came and visited North East Victoria, conducted a roundtable meeting with the primary partnerships group, and talked about the really good models that were already in existence. So we know a lot. But what we don't do is say, how do we actually get the knowledge that's on the ground and link it upwards to the decision makers at that level? It's such a big gap, and I think we put the bureaucracy in the middle and make it so difficult. So I'm hoping that as part of the Royal Commission, definitely, and as part of the Commissioner, the job is to work out, well, how can we actually bring these two things together? Because there's so much local knowledge, and I hear it when I go around and I see some of the wonderful, innovative, creative things that are happening, and it's just not reflected up the chain, if you want. So I want to spend a few minutes of my time talking about some of the wonderful models and organisations that work in my electorate, and to say thank you for your creativity, your innovation, your problem solving, and the wonderful care you do give to my constituents. And I'd like to talk particularly about, well, I'm going to name some of them. In Myrtleford, Barwidgee Lodge; in Mansfield, Beo Light Village. Mansfield's also got associated with the hospital, Bindalea Retirement Centre; in Tallangatta, Bulga Court, and the terrific job it does. Beautiful view overlooking the lake, sort of like almost a men's shed where people can build things and do things, and they've just done a fantastic job about providing, in the most glorious position part of North East Victoria, a really lovely service provision model. In Wodonga proper, we've got Bupa, which operates a more traditional nursing home arrangement. In Benalla, Kawinda Village. Down at Eildon on the wonderful Lake Eildon, we've got Darlington Upper Goulburn Nursing Home, and what a fantastic job it does. We've got Esther Health in Wodonga. In Rutherglen, a small country town near where I live, we've got Glenview Community Care Nursing Home. And a special call out to Glenview. Not only do they provide aged care, which they do really well, they also connect up with the childcare centre, which is just across the road. And they're linked with Indigo North Health Service and provide a fantastic community care for residents. In Bright, we've got the Hawthorn Village Aged Care Hostel, which is run by Alpine Health. Down at Alexander, we've got Callock Lodge. And what a fantastic job the Board of Callock Lodge has done recently in its negotiations with the Anglican Diocese. So a special call out to your board and the community there. In Mount Beauty, Keewal Valley House. At Tallangatta, we've also got the Lakeview Nursing Home, which is associated with Alpine Health. In Benalla, we've got the Maury Evans Wing attached to the nursing hospital. In Myrtleford, we've got the Myrtleford Lodge Aged Care. In Wangaratta, we've got Rangeview Private Nursing Home, we've got St Catherine's Hostel, which does a fantastic job, and I was really pleased to take the Minister there early this year, and we've got St John's Village, also in Wangaratta. In Yea, we've got Rosebank Nursing Home. In Corryong, we've got Upper Murray Nursing Home. Out at Barranduda near Wodonga, we've got Westmont Aged Care Services. And what a fantastic model they now provide. All types of care. They're picking up the home and community care, and they're now acting a centre of excellence for the provision of aged care right across North East Victoria. And in Yakandanda, which is where I want to finish this little brief outline, Yamaroo Hospital. Yamaroo Hospital is run by the Yakandanda Health Service. And if ever you want to see a community that has got a most amazing approach to community health, it's Yakandanda. We used to have an old bush nursing hospital, and then that for a whole lot of reasons didn't work. So now it's called Yakandanda Health Service, and the nursing home and the hostel and the work that goes with it. Doing amazing development now. They've found a paddock behind the hospital, and they're building specialist accommodation there, integrating it into the community. But one of the things I love about Yamaroo, or about Yakandanda Health, they visited Parliament recently with their plans for integration of housing and health and care, and the particular work they're doing with the totally renewable Indi, or totally renewable Yakandanda project. Now, total renewable Yakandanda is a model of energy generation at the community level, and the old hospital, as it's still fondly known, has got this an enormous array of solar panels on the roof, and providing. I wasn't able to find the figures in time for today's speech, but so much of their electricity now they generate themselves. So what I was really hoping today in my speech is to say that while it's really timely to have the Aged Care Quality Safety Commission bill before the House, it's really good that we've got the Royal Commission happening, but let's not forget the fantastic work that's currently happening in our communities as we speak, and to give the call out to all the people providing the care, to give opportunity for the solutions that are done at the local level and the regional level to be bubbling up through the system so that we can learn and value add. So I want to finish my talk really about the role of the multi-purpose service and the MPS that operate in Corryong and in Alpine, which is Bright, Mount Beauty and Myrtleford. So MPSs were an effort by communities to bring health together into one bundle. And there are 7 funded MPSs in Victoria. They're funded by the Commonwealth with support from the Victorian Government to be able to provide the needs that our communities have identified. But sadly, what I think is a fantastic model doesn't have the support that it needs. So I've been lobbying the various ministers and saying we need to review the funding, we need to review the operation, we really need to bring these MPSs into the 21st century and give them the resources that they need to actually meet the needs of local communities. So Corryong is doing that, but could do with so much more love, care and support. And Alpine, again in its way, is doing some fantastic work. And I would just love to see a lot more attention given to those really good models. And the final thing, my final call-out that I'd really like to bring to the Parliament is the role that some of those smaller, more isolated community groups are doing with telehealth. We've got what I am so impressed by, an amazing network of telehealth operating across right north-east Victoria, so to Albury-Wodonga Health, but particularly the old Wangaratta Hospital, North-East Health. What a fantastic job you're doing in getting telehealth out into the smaller hospitals, enabling specialist services, diagnostic services, and really using modern technology to make our system work so much better. So a call out to that Melbourne University Wang North-East Health model, and then all the partnership institutions that are now working together. Every time I go out to the communities and visit the hospitals or the aged care facilities and see the work that they're doing, I'm just so full of pride at the innovation and the technical expertise that our communities can bring to bear in solving problems. So tonight, as I bring my comments to a close, I think we've got an enormous amount to offer in the future as we design healthcare services that particularly meet our needs in rural and regional Australia. But we must know that rural and regional Australia is different. It often costs more to deliver services. Our particular communities have often got a lot to be involved with, and we can do so much if we make better use of them. But I'd like to encourage all my existing networks to link into the scoping, the skills and the training needs in rural aged care, and to call out to the members of the network providers in north-east Victoria to say great work, and together with La Trobe. La Trobe has got a centre of rural health, and they're doing some fantastic research work around aged care. So good work, north-east Victoria. I'm really looking forward to being your advocate as we move forward. I'm hoping we can get some action before the end of the Royal Commission. I hope we can have a way of getting change on the ground now and not waiting until 2020 before we actually get the results out of it. I look forward to working with the Minister and the Opposition as we progress this and coming up with some really strong plans for aged care in rural and regional Australia.